When it entered service, it was the stuff of Allied pilots' nightmares, a symbol of dominance, an unrivaled sword with superior maneuverability and range. Crafted by a genius engineer, it became a legend the moment it left the ground. This is the Mitsubishi A6M Zero, the Japanese fighter that ruled the Pacific skies. But hidden beneath its famed legacy are tragic stories, fatal mistakes, and a truth that this aircraft was designed never to fail. Until it came up against an opponent its creators could never have foreseen: time and the evolution of war. Today, we will turn back the pages of history to uncover the truth behind this myth. From the impossible technical requirements, its early triumphs over China and Pearl Harbor, to its deadly flaws and a tragic ending in the skies over Japan. This is the story of the Zero, and we are Oblivion Archive, telling the stories no one else dares to tell. So history is never forgotten. In 1937, while the Mitsubishi A5M fighters were still flying over the skies of China, the Imperial Japanese Navy issued a new requirement. They needed a more modern fighter, a war machine capable of unthinkable long-range missions with superior speed, endurance, and firepower. The requirements were seemingly impossible: a top speed of 500 km/h, a climb rate of 3,000 meters in just 3.5 minutes, and an endurance of 6 to 8 hours with a drop tank. It also had to carry formidable firepower with two 20mm cannons and two 7.7mm machine guns. The rival firm, Nakajima, analyzed these criteria and concluded they were unattainable with the engine technology available to Japan. They withdrew from the competition. But at Mitsubishi, a young engineer saw another path. His name was Jiro Horikoshi. Faced with an engine weaker than his competitors, Horikoshi made a radical proposition. Instead of adding power, he would remove weight. He believed he could create a fighter so agile it would be impossible to hit. Horikoshi and his team went to extreme lengths to reduce weight, using a super light aluminum alloy, T7178, and even drilling holes through every possible internal part of the airframe. But this was a gamble. To make the aircraft as light as possible, they completely eliminated armor protection for the pilot and critical components, and refused to use self-sealing fuel tanks. It was a calculated sacrifice, a bet on the Zero's invincibility. The samurai's blade was now forged, brilliant but incredibly brittle. In September 1940, the Zero made a shocking debut over the skies of China. A squadron of 13 A6M2s led by Lieutenant Saburo Shindo engaged 27 Polikarpov A-15s and I-16s of the Chinese Nationalist Air Force. The result, all 27 enemy aircraft were shot down, while not a single Zero was damaged. This was just the beginning. The Zero's superior range was a game changer. With an operating range of up to 3,100 km with a drop tank, it could appear unexpectedly on multiple fronts. This led Allied commanders to believe that Japan had a number of Zeros several times greater than the actual count. The Zero was not just an aircraft. It had become a mysterious machine with supernatural powers in the minds of Allied pilots. At that time, no American fighter could directly confront a Zero in a dogfight. Some Japanese pilots were so confident that they performed aerobatic displays, showcasing their supreme skill, One of the Zero's most unique tactics was that when pursued by an enemy, it would climb straight up into the sky, using its superior climbing ability to stall out the American planes and force them to turn back. At that point, the Zero would turn around, get on the enemy's tail, and finish them off. With a combination of groundbreaking design, impressive range, and experienced pilots, the Zero became the undisputed master, sowing terror across the skies of the Pacific. The myth of the Zero began to crumble on June 3, 1942, when a Zero was shot down and crash-landed almost completely intact on Akutan Island in Alaska. The incident was a game-changing moment. For Allied engineers and pilots, it was a golden ticket to solving the Zero's mystery. They uncovered a shocking truth. The Zero was a dangerously engineered aircraft. The bravery of its pilots was not without its weaknesses. The plane was incredibly light, with no armor protection for the cockpit and no self-sealing fuel tanks. The Zero had gambled on its invincibility, and now that gamble was failing. With this newfound intelligence, Allied pilots changed their tactics. They learned that dogfighting with a Zero was a losing game. Instead, they developed the boom and zoom strategy. Using their advantage in speed and engine power, they would dive from above, fire their guns, and quickly escape, giving the Zero no chance to engage in a turning fight. And with the change in tactics came a new generation of fighters. Powerful war machines like the Grumman F-6F Hellcat and Vought F-4U Corsair emerged. They were heavier, faster, and had superior firepower, designed to absorb damage and turn the once invincible Zero into a vulnerable target. While Allied technology rapidly evolved, Japan remained stuck with the Zero's design, with no effective replacement in sight. By 1944, Japan's position in the war had completely changed. The Zero, once a source of pride, was now an outdated aircraft, unable to stand against the Allied war machines. The Imperial Japanese Naval Air Force had lost thousands of its seasoned pilots, forcing them to rely on young, inexperienced recruits. The tragedy was compounded by a fatal miscalculation by the leadership. They had failed to invest in developing a new generation of aircraft to replace the Zero. Faced with a devastating depletion of manpower and resources and unwilling to surrender, the Japanese military made a brutal decision: the Kamikaze strategy. Kamikaze, or divine wind, was not merely a military tactic but a symbol of suicidal fanaticism. The pilots did not need to learn how to land. They only needed to learn how to take off and fly their bomb-laden aircraft directly into enemy warships. These pilots were often very young men, even teenagers, who were carefully selected, notably not the eldest sons, to ensure their family lines would continue. The Zero, once designed for aerial combat and dogfighting, was now transformed into a manned missile. During the Battle of Okinawa, an estimated 1,900 suicide sorties were carried out, sinking over 30 U.S. warships. One of the most tragic examples was when a kamikaze plane struck the carrier USS Franklin, causing 724 deaths, even though the ship did not sink. The Zero began the war as an invincible warrior, but it ended as an instrument of despair and ultimate sacrifice. It became the most tragic symbol of the war, a testament to the fanatical bravery and loyalty of Japanese pilots. When the war ended, the Zero was no longer a fighter. It had become a symbol, a legacy of both immense pride and profound tragedy. Despite its flaws and its grim end, the Zero left an undeniable mark on history. According to military sources, the Zero was responsible for shooting down at least 1550 U.S. aircraft, a staggering number that speaks to its raw power. Yet, it was more than just a war machine. The Zero stands as a testament to the excellence of Japanese engineering, to Horikoshi's genius, and to the extraordinary resilience of its pilots. Today, the surviving Zeros are displayed in museums around the world, serving as a tangible reminder of a brutal conflict. While most airworthy Zeros have had their engines replaced with American counterparts, there is one notable exception. A single Zero still retains its original Sakai engine, standing silently in a museum as a solemn witness to history. It is a complex and controversial symbol. On one hand, the Zero represents a monumental breakthrough in aviation technology. On the other, it serves as a stark warning about the dangers of zealous nationalism. The story of the Mitsubishi A6M Zero is not just about an aircraft, but about sacrifice, courage, and the lessons that humanity must never forget. The legend of the A6M Zero is a paradox. It was built on the most advanced ideas, only to be destroyed by a lack of progress. It sowed terror in the skies, but ended in tragedy. It represented the indomitable spirit of a nation, yet it also stands as a testament to the self-destruction of fanaticism. Though history has moved on, the Zero lives on in the memories of those who fought it, and in the hearts of those who died with it. It was not just an aircraft. It was an era of dominance, of courage, and of a tragic end that was inevitable. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this legendary fighter. If you found this video insightful, please leave a comment below. We are Oblivion Archive, telling the stories no one else dares to tell. So history is never forgotten.